Hi, and welcome to the Reiki from the Farm podcast, brought to you by me, Pam Allen-LeBlanc from Hidden Brook Farm. I am a scientist, a businesswoman, and a licensed Reiki master teacher with the International Center for Reiki Training. Each week in this podcast, you'll be entertained as you learn about a wide variety of relevant Reiki topics, helping you become a more knowledgeable and effective Reiki practitioner. We caution you, though, this podcast may also dramatically improve your life, and we are so happy that you're here. And so welcome to this month's Reiki Share and this week's podcast. We've been a little off track with all of the election stuff that has been happening and going on. So it's really nice to get back on track with our podcast and Reiki Share this month. And from now on, I'm amazed, but I'm able to, by shifting the Reiki Share to Thursday nights, I'll be able to have our Reiki Share every Thursday, the first Thursday of the month, every month. And so the dates are all set. I'll be sending it out to the full list of people who registered for the newsletter, and hope that you can join us. It's always so lovely to actually see you here. And I'm going to start just with an Ask Me Anything section, as I often do. And then we're going to move into the topic of how Reiki helps us navigate life's disappointments. But before we go too far, I'd just like to let you know of some of the courses and things that we have coming up at the farm. November 23rd and 24th, I have a Reiki Level 1 and 2 class. That's a weekend class in the Eastern time zone. Would love to have you join us. We also have Animal Reiki 1 and 2 coming up November 30th to December 1st. And then early in December 7th and 8th, we have Animal Communication. These are all weekend classes. And that's followed by an evening class over 2 evenings, Monday and Tuesday evening, Animal Communication Level 3. The 7th and 8th is Level 1 and 2. And then the Level 3 is Monday and Tuesday evening, December 9th and 10th. And these are all in the Eastern time zone. And I also have an Animal Communication Level 3 class scheduled for Asian students, December 14th and 15th. We also have in January another weekend class of Reiki Level 1 and 2, the 25th to 26th. There's a master class over a weekend and then a couple of evenings, Friday evening and Monday evening, January 31st to February 3rd. These are all in the Eastern time zone. And also Karuna Reiki Masterclass over 4 evenings, January 27th to 30th. And Animal Reiki 1 and 2, again, February 8th and 9th. And Animal Reiki Master, February 10th to 13th. And these are weekend classes. So I'd love to have you join us for any of those. We also have the Reiki Business Summit coming up in November. And I'll include a link to that in case you can join us. I realize I just have to quickly look up the date because I don't have it in front of me, but it actually starts next Friday, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and Karen and I are speaking on the 25th, the Monday. So would love to have you join us for that if that works for you. So welcome, everybody. I'd like to start off just by inviting you to bring your hands into Gasho and activate your Reiki energy. And just acknowledging that this is a time of transition. It's a time of transition seasonally, both in the northern and southern hemisphere. The northern hemisphere, we have much less daylight. In the southern hemisphere, you're getting much more. It's a time of transition with governments. So many elections are happening in 2024. The US just had a big election. We had here in New Brunswick an election. There may be a federal election coming. There are many countries that are going to the polls and lots of changes and lots of polarity in the sense, or duality in the sense of both positive and negative. And so just acknowledging that we may all feel a little bit unsettled with the change, and just inviting that unsettled feeling to flow down through the bottoms of our feet and into the earth as Reiki moves from the highest heavens to in front of our hands, through our hands, into our heart, and begins filling the space that was once taken up by that unsettled energy, frequency, and feeling. There's usually a feeling of insecurity that comes with change as well. And so if you have any sense of insecurity, any fear of the future, I invite you to just move that, allow that to move down through you, down through the bottoms of your feet, and into the earth where it can be used to grow a blade of grass, hatch a chick, open a flower, unfurl a leaf. And I invite you to just think about our topic this evening. We're talking about how Reiki helps us in times of disappointment. I'm just thinking of times in your life when you experience disappointment and just releasing those as well with love. And we'll come back to maybe a more significant time as we go further in the podcast. But for right now, just letting it all go. This energy is just dissolving up into the light of Reiki. And once again, Reiki moves in to fill the space with peace and light and love. And we take a moment to send love to each other, support to each other, and just notice that web of support coming together. And just feel the support of your peers, of all the people who've joined us tonight, of all the people who will listen later. Hundreds and hundreds of Reiki people that wish you well and wish to support you and want you to know that you are loved, even and especially in times when you feel unsupported and unloved. And the brothers and sisters of the light are just surrounding us all, creating a container that we can exist within, work within, grow within. And we are so blessed to be of this lineage of light bringers, creating wellness on the earth today, and to be of this family, this wonderful ICRT family, Reiki practitioners, the Hidden Brook Farm, the Reiki from the farm, Reiki practitioners, everyone supporting each other. And I invite us just to say a special prayer for Charlene. The last I heard, she was in the hospital and unresponsive. I believe she has a lot of life left to live. And if there are any other members of our Reiki family who are struggling in any way, who feel unsupported in any way, just send your love out to them, your support out to them. Thank you. Namaste. So, guys, I just want to ask if anyone has any questions this evening before we begin our regularly scheduled program. And I do have a question in the chat just about tips for offering Reiki at holistic fairs. And you know what? There's several ways to do it. One way that comes to mind immediately is this is especially helpful if you happen to have like an automated sign up system, something where people can just go in and pick a space on your calendar and sign themselves up. You could even offer like just a 15-minute free coupon. Like myself, I offer 15 minutes free sessions for people who are wondering about classes or wondering about sessions or who have questions about Reiki. And that has been fantastic for just helping to answer some of the questions that people have before, and so that they can figure out if they do want to commit to a session or a class. So I think a 15-minute coupon, something like that would be great. Another thing that I do is I bring a saddle seat. It's a type of stool that you can get at a massage uh, outlet store or places where they sell massage equipment. And this saddle seat is very comfortable. People can just sit on it, and their entire back is free. It's just a stool, but something that they can sit on like that. And I used to use it to teach centered riding lessons and classes, but now um, I haven't taught that in a while. So instead, I bring that with me. And if people are wondering about Reiki, I just have them sit on the stool and I say, would you like to try a few minutes? And I just usually choose the large muscles at the shoulders, the traps and the shoulder blades, and just place my hands there and just allow the Reiki energy to flow for their highest good. And usually with just about 5 minutes, they get a sense of it. And I've had people call me or reach out to me with email after that saying, okay, that was fantastic. I'd like to learn more. And so then we go ahead and book them in a session or something like that. So those are the two ways that I often offer Reiki at holistic fairs. I will tell you though that I also clear the entire space before I go to the fair because there's a lot of different energies there, and as a highly sensitive person that can become overwhelming to me. And so just clearing the space before I get there and then creating a little bubble of Reiki once I'm there, it does seem to attract people to my table. So hopefully that helps. Are there any other questions today? GOT's wondering if I'm going to be doing any animal Reiki classes in Lake George. No, I won't be, GOT. I will be doing some online classes in this winter, and next summer I'll be doing some in-person animal Reiki classes on the island of Campobello, just off the coast of Maine. They'll be in August, mid-August, because that's when most of the whales are there. And quite often we see the whales right outside the window as we're in class. But also, we do take Tuesday evening and we head out whale watching so that both the level 1 and 2 and master students can join the whale watching. I'm teaching both human Reiki level 1 and 2 and masters, and that'll be followed by animal Reiki 1 and 2 and masters. I'd love to have you join us. The in-person class I will be teaching in Lake George this year as part of the Northeast Reiki retreat, and it's not too late to sign up. If you haven't signed up, I highly recommend it. That retreat is in May. I haven't published this yet, but I will be making it public soon, perhaps in the next newsletter. I've been working on a new course called Healthcare Reiki with my friend Tracy Sullivan, and we've been working on it for about a year now, and we believe the course will be ready to offer in May at the just ahead of the Silver Bay Reiki retreat. If healthcare Reiki, and this is working in professional healthcare settings of all kinds, like hospice, hospitals, surgery, oncology, it will be covering all of that, and including nursing homes and massage therapy clinics, like holistic health, as well as tradition the standard health care that we all consider. So we will be offering that class just ahead of the retreat. And the animal communication masterclass I'm offering will be on a weekend in 2025. And in fact, if I can look that up for you, because the dates of the Northeast Reiki retreat, by the way, are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, May 2nd to 4th, and the date of Healthcare Reiki and Tracy Sullivan and I don't know if we'll have an opportunity to teach in person again. I hope so, but we know we're teaching in person then. We'd love to have you join us. The Healthcare Reiki will be the Wednesday, April 30th, and Thursday, May 1st. And the Animal Communication Masterclass, February 18, 19, and 20th. So we'll be doing Animal Communication 1 and 2, the 15th and 16th of February, level 3, the 17th, and the Master Teacher over 3 evenings, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, February 18th, 19th, and 20th. I can't read my own schedule, so sorry about that. But yes, that masterclass has finally been set, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit, just about how not winning the election opened up that opportunity along with many others. There is a level 3, animal communication level 3, over 2 evenings in December. In February, it is actually all day on the 17th. So if you do need an evening class, if you could join that December class, that would be awesome. And that's just a Monday, or sorry, is it December? Yeah, December 9th and 10th, over 2 evenings, or February 17th, the full day is the next level 3 class. There is a weekend class for Asia scheduled. So yeah, thanks for all these questions about the classes, you guys. And oh, that's fantastic that helped you for the fairs. Wonderful. Anybody have any other questions? Please feel free to. Marissa is asking if animal communications for Asia time frame. We are realizing that I am trying to shift so that many of my master classes will work both evenings in North America and mornings for Asia and Australia. So hopefully that's helpful, Marissa. And I'm just wondering if anybody would also, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Oh, the animal communications, yeah. So we will look at putting another animal communication level 1 and 2 class. That's the book that I'm working on right now, and the workbooks. And once those are ready, I do want to make them available to people. So yeah, any other questions, you guys? Feel free to unmute yourself as well and ask that way.
Hi, Pam.
Hi.
It's Margaret Mary.
Thought so.
The Charlene that you spoke about earlier, is
Mhm.
that dragonfly?
No, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, it's a different one.
Understood. And I'll send Reiki.
Please, yeah, I
Um,
appreciate it. She's a dear, friend, and yeah, I just
She'll accept.
and she will accept. She is unresponsive, but she will absolutely accept. I know that. And her good friend that lives in the same community reached out to let me know that she had been hospitalized and is in, I believe, a coma.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if I ever shared with you. I studied with Raven Keys and I am a certified medical Reiki master, so I will do that work.
Yes, please. I think she really needs that, Margaret Mary. So I really appreciate that.
Understood. I'll connect with you via email on that. I taught Reiki 1 and 2 and Animal Reiki 1 and 2 back to back. All my Reiki 1 and 2 students immediately took
Animal.
Animal Reiki 1 and 2, which was very nice. And in Reiki, Animal Reiki 1 and 2, I learned that one of my students had just completed in Australia. And based on what I know, I believe it was an online course. I don't have the distinctions. And she shared her certificates with me.
Yeah.
And all of the certificates had the same date, which was October 28th, no, October 29th, 2024. So just a few days before having taught her Reiki 1 and 2 and Animal Reiki 1 and 2.
Mhm.
And it was Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and Reiki 3. And she's eager to take the ICRT, which is the way I teach.
Yeah.
That's what I follow, the ICRT Reiki Master and Animal Reiki Master course. And because I'm not clear, even though she has these certificates stating she is a master from another lineage, I'm not clear on how she was taught. And given the systems and structures that are in place with the ICRT, do I go ahead and teach her or do I wait 6 months?
I would wait 6 months. I would ask her to do a master teacher course. So I have heard of that class, and it does seem to be out of Australia where people learn in 1 or 2 days, Reiki 1, 2, and 3. And what has normally happened, Margaret Mary, is that people have come to me and said, look, I learned this, but I didn't learn anything. And I just left it confused and I don't know what I'm doing. And they've actually signed up for my level 1 and 2 class, even though I've told them you don't have to redo 1 and 2. Many of them choose to redo 1 and 2 because they just said, look, I just don't feel that I understand it. It was too fast and I didn't get enough out of it. So many of them have gone back to the beginning with me. And one of the things that's important before, there are many people who, and many lineages who say Reiki master when it's really like level 3. So, in other words, or what we used to teach in the Tibetan ART system, where the Tibetan Usui ART system, where they get the master symbol, but they don't learn to do attunements and they don't learn to teach. It's really important before people go on to the animal Reiki master class that they have already learned to do attunements. It's okay if it's a different style of attunement, but they need to be at the master teacher level. And even though in our system, we don't consider somebody a Reiki master until they've taught at least one person. That's not the same in other systems. So even though Reiki master is a sufficient title for those of us who are master teachers, I even have added master teacher to my title because I can't tell you how many people said, "Oh, you're a Reiki master. Can you teach?" And they're just so used to people being at that level 3 and calling themselves master. So they really do need to be at the master teacher level. And I suppose if they learned master teacher earlier from another lineage, that would be acceptable. But it we have found, and I've seen it very clearly, that it is a good idea. Like we insist on people waiting that 6 months between level 2 and level 3 in master, because you really do need to grow in the energy before you're ready to, and understand the energy before you're ready to go to the master teacher level. So I think I would ask her to, I know I would ask her to wait. If she's not a master teacher, then no. Does that
Well,
help?
it helps greatly, and thank you for those distinctions and that,
Mhm.
especially the one distinction about you're not a master teacher until you've taught at least one person. That really solidifies that for me. And yes, her certificate says Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki 3. And what really caught my attention was they all had the same date on
Yeah,
it. And that's when it was like, wait a minute.
I know. I've heard
Um,
of that too. And anybody who's come to me from, I'm not, and maybe there are people that get benefit from it, but anybody that have come to me from that lineage have said, I'm confused, I'm lost, I don't understand. And they have all said that they wanted to start over.
that's totally fine.
I've
That
had
really
one
helps me. And that follows with what was showing up. And thank you
Oh, you're
very
so
much. I
welcome.
I've,
really appreciate you.
Thank you, Margaret Mary. Yeah, Marissa, I think you had something.
I was just going to say I had one lady come to one of my classes in April when I had a class, and she had gone through that training too.
Yeah.
And yeah, they attune them to the master symbol, but that's it.
Hmm. Yeah. It's similar to back before there was Holy Fire when we had the Usui Tibetan system. You could take a master practitioner class separately if you just wanted to become a master practitioner and you didn't want to teach. So I think it's similar to that. But honestly, I do believe that anybody I've talked to have said that it was just too much too fast and that they didn't really feel confident or that they learned a lot. I so far I haven't run into anybody who's
Okay. Uh,
been
sorry,
happy with it.
just before you go on to the meditation thing, I just need to move Shaka. So can you give me a couple of minutes, just in case
Sure.
we're just about there?
Yeah, absolutely, Marissa. Yeah. Thank you guys. Any other questions before we begin? And I love doing it this way. I was going to do just a whole session on questions, and I realized, you know what, I loved it so much answering everybody's questions. And if you have questions, probably other people do as well, that I think it's just a wonderful way to start our Reiki share each month. So, anything else, guys, before we begin? So, the healthcare Reiki, you do not have to have a medical license. You can be a non-licensed person who works in the medical industry, or you may not even work in the medical industry. I don't work in the medical industry, but I can actually take this to hospice, or even I might be the Reiki master asked to go into a surgery. There will be CEs provided for this, and it's going to be really neat. I will be doing a podcast in January with Tracy Sullivan. We'll let you know. We're still putting things together, so we want to get it just a little more solid before we talk more about the details. But it has been really exciting. And of course, when we do this podcast, we will be bringing you through a meditation with the energy, and it is exciting. We'll be talking about, it was an energy that was just waiting there for us. And we've been listening, and very similarly to what we did with animal Reiki. And it's just been absolutely fascinating. So we will be doing an online pilot class ahead of the May date, probably sometime in either end of February or end of April. Oh, sorry. Yeah, probably I'm not sure just when, but we will be doing a pilot class. If you're interested in attending the pilot class, just let me know. It will just be by invitation to people who've let us know that they're interested. We'll do the pilot class online. The class in at Silver Bay, New York will be in person, which is really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you, guys. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'm super excited to talk with you tonight about our topic. And I know, Jolene, you were asking how I was beforehand. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to put a pin in that because that has to do with the topic at hand. The last time we were together in a Reiki share was just before the election that I was running for as a member of the Legislative Assembly for our riding here in Fredericton, York, in New Brunswick as a provincial um, representative. And I have to say, a lot of you know me and know how much effort I put into things. I just gave it my all, absolutely, with the election. And everybody, so many people thought that I would win this riding, and I didn't. And it came as a bit of a surprise to a lot of people. And for sure, on the night of the election, when we saw the results, I was really disappointed. But I thought it was the first time out. We got over 20% of the vote. And so I guess we'll do it again. And I did start making plans to run again in 4 years. But at the same point, yeah, for sure, it's really difficult to put that much effort into something and not be disappointed, especially because this was Reiki that guided me all along. But I knew I really, in a way, I was prepared that it could go either way. So I have to be ready to how will I handle it if it goes either way. And so I knew I was going to be fine either way. I love what I do. It was a huge learning curve, everything that I learned and grew. And there's something that I talk about in my level 1 and 2 classes. So if you've never had a level 1 and 2 class with me, you wouldn't have heard this, but if you have, it might be a nice review. I talk about how, and this comes through with this came through Abraham, the woman who channels the Abraham energy, and for some reason her name slips my mind right now, Esther Hicks. And Esther talks about these high flying discs and how when we're an energy person, we get used to being on a high flying disc. We get used to just the good luck and the good fortune that seems to come our way when we're in the energy a significant amount of time. And she says we get used to these high flying discs, but every so often something happens that knocks you down onto a low flying disc. And when that happens, Esther said there's always a lesson to be learned. So instead of railing about it and talking about why am I on this low flying disc? Why has this happened? That's a waste of energy. And you can spend a lot of energy there, like trying to figure it out and whatever. But she said, instead, if you could simply ask, what am I here to learn? And then learn it. And then you can get back up on your high flying disc. And from the moment that I heard, that's how I decided to live my life. And William talks about that too, just the fact that we can always use Reiki to shift our consciousness and shift our vibration. I knew this with the election. And even still, I was disappointed and I was sad for a little bit. It just felt like such a kick after that much effort. I left it all on the court, you guys. I was absolutely exhausted. I busted my knee from all the canvassing and all the standing and talking to people. I talked to thousands and thousands of people in the riding. And I won in the schools unequivocally. The children all chose the Green Party but didn't actually win the riding. So I allowed myself to feel the sadness and disappointment, but I was also teaching Reiki at the time, and I was also very exhausted as well. And I thought to that low flying disc, and I thought, you know what? I learned so much in the course of this. And Marissa says it gave me an opportunity to reach a lot more people. It really and truly did. And if you could have been there to see the beautiful messages that people sent me about how they weren't just a number to me, like I truly cared about their issues. And people that said I gave them faith in politics again and things like that, like just truly beautiful messages from wonderful people here in the riding that I think the world of. And I remembered that Viktor Frankl, who was actually in the Nazi concentration camps, he says between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. I actually immediately just started planning for the next election, and it was wonderful because I was teaching 10 days straight of Reiki. And so in that Reiki space, every time we went into meditation, I got more information and more, yeah, just more encouragement. And so I felt sad and disappointed for less than a day. By about lunchtime the next day, Reiki had shifted the sadness and disappointment into relief because I realized, wow, I have 4 years now to write these books that were going to be really difficult to write if I was a sitting member of the Legislative Assembly, and to finish my courses and teach. And so it really shifted things. And do you know what happened? As soon as it shifted things, I started getting offers to teach in amazing places. I was asked to teach in Hong Kong, in Africa, in California. Where else? There's someplace else I was asked to teach. Australia? No, New Zealand. And it also opens things up so that I can get back to Australia again, which I would really like to do. So I realized, wow, it wasn't meant to be right now. I will listen to Reiki and just see, was it about the learning, or am I to run again? And I do think it will be to run again because all kinds of information is coming in about what to do in that area. So I'll definitely follow up on that, you guys, and follow through. And that led me to Maya Angelou said, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." One of the really big insights, my body was hurting and so sore from just all of the physical work that is involved in the campaign. I have so much respect for politicians who work hard at their campaigns and do it well, because it's the hardest. I've grew up on a farm and have worked in the dairy industry, and um, the canvassing and just the constant work, it's really incredible. But as I wasn't able to sleep very well, my knees were paining, and just from all of the canvassing and all of the walking and steps, but mostly the standing, I thought, do you know what? Two things. I'm really happy I gave it my all, because if I hadn't given it my all and didn't have great results, I would have felt responsible for those not great results. But I did give it everything I absolutely had. I left nothing behind. So I was happy about that. But the other thing I thought of is there's people who are fighting for their lives, fighting for their homes, fighting for their families, fighting for their countries, who are giving it their all, really and truly giving it their all, with much bigger stakes or consequences than losing an election. And that just really brought me into a lesson of perspective, that losing an election was disappointing, but in the bigger scheme of things, I'm now able to step back into a career that I love, that just brightens my life every day, and into a place that I love. Like I really have very little to complain about. So that was really neat how Reiki was able to so quickly shift that for me. And I thought about that, and I realized that this is probably what we would be talking about this evening. And I also, following that perspective and that gratitude for the journey, actually, and all the wonderful people that I met. So shortly after I finished teaching, some of that for my husband's milestone birthday recently, the children and I got together and we purchased tickets for a Billy Joel concert for him. And this is something that he's always wanted to do. We were able to get it on a weekend that worked for all of us in Las Vegas. So the five of us got together. We traveled to Vegas, which was lovely. We had 5 days together there. And it was very different, very exciting to see that part of the world and just all the, yeah, it was really neat, but wonderful to be together as a family. And my husband was just gobsmacked that we had done it. We had done it as a surprise and we had been planning it for a year. We got there and everything went well with our flights and all of that. And the Airbnb, everything was great. But we got to the Billy Joel concert, and for some reason, the tickets, which we had purchased back in June, didn't come through. And my son looked into it, and it turned out that the service that he used to purchase the tickets for us had oversold, and they didn't have the Billy Joel tickets for us. And it was really interesting because my husband and I chose to remain positive. And my son, who had purchased the tickets, he was in between. My daughters were feeling very negative about this and they were getting angry because we had put so much into making this such a special weekend for my husband. And now the biggest part of it, the concert, was not going to happen. And I looked at it and I felt, and my husband and I both, we talked about it and we felt that it was a teachable moment for the kids. Our children are adults now, 22, 24, and 26. And we've moved out of the role of parent and into the role of mentor. And so we actually pulled up this sentiment from Charles Swindoll. Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. And so we told the girls, no, there's something positive is going to come from this as long as we keep our mindset positive. But if we allow our mindset to go down into the negative, then the positive energy can't come in. So try to stay positive. And they were struggling with it, to be fair. But my son was on the fence and he remained polite and he goes, look, we came all the way to Vegas for this concert. Is there anything you can do? She said, yes, I can refund your ticket price, which was a lot of money, but that wasn't incredibly helpful to us. Or I can give you almost three times your ticket price in credits. Would you like that? And my son said, yes, thank you. And he remained polite the whole way through. It's not the person's fault. She was just trying to help. And she refunded three times the amount. And we said, and the girls were still, that was something, but they were still frustrated that we missed the concert that my husband has waited his whole life to see. And we said, let's just look and see what else is available. Turns out the Eagles were playing at the Sphere. Now, my husband is just as huge of an Eagles fan as a Billy Joel fan. It was playing an hour and a half later. We had just enough time to purchase the tickets online and get over there. And we actually got much more expensive seating than we would have had for the concert we were going to. And it was, I think, one of the most epic things I've seen in my life. The concert, the Sphere itself was incredible. The sound was incredible. The show was incredible. My husband said at one point, I feel like I'm having a religious experience. Like this is just amazing. And it really was I can't say enough about it. We were just blown away. And we realized the girls were like, they couldn't believe it. We all love Billy Joel, but we were like, this was even better. And they said, wow, because you remain positive. And you know what? This credit allowed us to see a lot more shows that we wouldn't have been able to see. We just absolutely filled our space and got to see some really incredible shows that we wouldn't have been able to afford, in addition to this epic concert that actually we realized in the end was probably even better than the original one we were there to see. Really brought home for the girls, and it brought home for me just the importance of staying positive in these disappointing situations. That's what's necessary in order to allow the energy to come through. And so, as we were coming home from this incredible 5-week vacation, and I realized the children are grown, the opportunity to spend time with them like that is, those times are fleeting. And that was probably the most important part for me. It was the most important part for my husband. I'm not even probably, it was the most important part. And then to experience all of these things with our kids was just amazing. And so we're flying home after this wonderful 5 days, and I realized how much I needed that 5 days after being just so flat out for since last January, getting ready for the election and just really having very little downtime in 10 months, in over 10 months. And there was a woman behind us, and she had been trying to get home from Mexico for 2 days, and she was just so frustrated, and the airport kept putting her up in hotels and different stuff, and she was just trying to get home. That she was going on and on about how negative and how, and I thought, this woman is going to impact our flight. Like, saying this flight's probably not going to happen, and because this is what's been happening and blah blah blah. And I could just feel that her energy was so negative. And you know what? It did impact our flight. Our flight got held up by over 2 hours because of a mechanical issue, and then getting it all signed off and all that. And I'm happy. I'm so happy that they found the mechanical issue before we took off. And but at the same time, I realized my husband was listening to her, and we were both, he was behind me, and we were both thinking, you know what? This woman is choosing not to stay in the positive, and it's impacting the flight. Maybe the two of us can be positive and at least still get home this evening, because it was going to be problematic for all of us if we didn't. Mostly me, though. The girls, I think, had a bit of downtime, and my husband had some downtime, but I needed to be back in sessions and working. And if we couldn't have got home, I'm sure I could have rescheduled my clients, but I preferred not to. So the two of us just started putting Reiki and positive energy into it. And sure enough, although we were sitting on the tarmac for an additional 2 hours, we did get home late last night. So I just, and that just cemented for me that this was what we needed to talk about this evening, was just how important it is to, even when we are disappointed, even when the difficult things happen, to just look at it for what can we learn, and then getting back into that. What are we here to learn? And then using Reiki to move you back into that higher vibration. And even in frustration, that we can choose a compassionate, peaceful reaction. And then that's going to have an impact on things. I know a lady who, I don't know, she spends a lot of time giving people a hard time if they don't meet her expectations. And it made it difficult for me to be friends with her, because it wasn't kind. She often was giving people a piece of her mind, and made it difficult for a lot of people to be friends with her, actually. I really feel that people do their best, and choosing compassion and peace in all of these situations, it brings peace to us and then also to the people that are doing their best. So these were some of the insights that I wanted to discuss today. We're so fortunate that we have Reiki. Reiki gives us this ability to calm our mind, open our heart, and create just that space that we need to be thoughtful in our reactions. And it's not always going to work. And sometimes we'll be disappointed in ourselves if we don't choose to be thoughtful, if we react in anger or whatever. And that's going to happen. I'm sure it's going to happen for me as well as many of you. But then we have Reiki to help us feel better after that happens. But just always remember that we have that to create the space. Anytime we are in a difficult situation, there's something to learn. Look for the learning and then use the Reiki to move us back into that higher space. It can just taking that moment to place your hand on yourself, taking a pause, finding your center. This allows us to react with grace. And then we can always send energy to the difficult situations, past and present, to shift our perspectives. Does anybody have any questions before we move into a meditation with this today? Or comments? Okay. I'm just going to invite you all to make yourself comfortable then. And we're going to go into our meditation today. I just have a comment that is there a possibility that your energy and dedication to raising the vibrations of the voting population helped Susan Holt change the landscape? You know what? Maybe it did. And I admire Susan Holt, and she's doing a really wonderful job of things. So yes, that is a very strong possibility, Terry. Thanks for pointing that out, because she is doing a good job. And I know that our Greens will be there as well to help and support her. So maybe that was what it was all about. It'll become clear. It's not clear yet, but it will become clear. So guys, I'm just going to invite you to make yourselves comfortable. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Just grounding yourself in the here and now, and you may wish to place your hands in Gasho, activating Reiki, and any symbols you wish to have with you. And we just invite Reiki to flow now, filling the room with light and love, surrounding you. Just noticing the brothers and sisters of the light, the angels, the archangels, all around us. And just noticing the beautiful light of Reiki that envelops you, protects you. Place your hands comfortably on your body wherever you feel guided. And I'd like you to think about a recent or maybe a particularly profound disappointment that you've experienced in your life. And as you think about it, just observe the emotions that come up for you without judgment if you can. Just simply noticing what bubbles up to the surface. And we'll just stay here for a few moments in observation. Now, as you just notice what bubbles up, just imagine that the golden light of Reiki softens each of these emotions, eventually transforming them into peace. We'll remain here together for some time as this occurs. Now, I invite you to consider that this situation or disappointment was a learning opportunity. I invite you to ask yourself, what might this situation be teaching me? Or how can I grow from this? Or even how did I grow from this? If it was something that happened some time ago. Let's go ahead and send Reiki to the situation in order to create some space for clarity and compassion as you listen to the answers to these questions. What was this situation teaching me? Or how can I or did I grow from it? Now, I'd like you to consider that regardless of how you acted or responded at the time, you have the power to choose your reaction now. I'd like you to consider the following affirmation: I choose peace. I choose grace. I choose love. And as we continue to send Reiki to this disappointment, I invite you to repeat to yourself: I choose peace. I choose grace. I choose love. Now I invite you to visualize yourself responding to upcoming challenges, all upcoming challenges, with calm and wisdom, and with this thought in your mind: I choose peace. I choose grace. I choose love. We always have the power to choose our response in every situation, and Reiki is always here to support us. And when we can look at those negative events as an opportunity to learn and grow, it really shifts how we react to them. Roy Bennett says happiness depends on your mindset and attitude. Let's choose to be happy. I want to thank you for being here with me today. This actually really helped me continue to process even further some of the things around the election and such that I was processing. So thank you for your assistance with that. I invite you to come back in your own time. If you'd, it might be really helpful to journal about your experience, about the meditation, about the disappointment. Automatic writing can be really helpful as well, where you just start writing and don't edit, just allow whatever comes to flow. And while I have you, I just want to thank you for being the beautiful lights that each of you are in the world. You're incredible. Don't ever forget that. Namaste.